So there are a number of things that happened that led to my interest in this topic. I think first, I really kept seeing a lot of things on the news and on Twitter about Black men dying by suicide. That's one of my primary research interests. I explore topics and issues related to depression and suicide in young Black men. But the thing is, when I went into the research and into the literature, I found that there was a lot of just really broad race-based comparisons. So researchers would say, hey, Native Americans and whites have higher rates of suicide than Blacks, and that's really important for us to know. But when we make these really broad generalizations, we don't really take time to look at the within group differences. So when people just look and compare across races, people are usually surprised to see that suicide is actually the third leading cause of death among Black men ages 15 to 24. And that's a really, really interesting age range because that's the time where guys are transitioning out of high school, going into colleges, facing some new life experiences. And so I was just really intrigued when I kept seeing these things on Twitter and on social media and on Instagram and on the news. I kept seeing those things not being represented in the research and in the literature. So I noticed that gap and was really intrigued and decided that that's what I'm interested in exploring further. So I got involved with the White Men Project through my experience as a student here at the University of Michigan. Right now I'm in the second year of my PhD program in psychology and social work, and I was really trying to find ways that I could make my research applied. So I think a lot of times researchers, it's very easy for us as researchers to just stay in our office and to work at a computer behind a desk and not interact with people. But I think when you're really committed to serving various different communities that are typically underserved and overlooked, then I think it becomes really important to make sure that the research that you're doing transcends into the community and actually reaches the people that you want to reach. So I was looking for different opportunities and was having a bit of a difficult time finding the exact space for me, but I think the White Men Project has really done a great job of that because it takes the research that we're doing here in the university and allows us to apply it to different men and different groups at different schools and college campuses. So I think it's important because a lot of the really great resources that are out there are actually not culturally sensitive and they have not been tailored to fit the specific group. So when you go and you look at different evidence-based practices, you look at different therapeutic treatments, a lot of those things have not been designed specifically for men, and they certainly haven't been designed for Black men. So we know that men face a number of challenges related to having to feel like they're the man and having to feel on top of things and having to really adhere to these traditional masculine norms. And a lot of times that prevents them from seeking help and from getting the type of appropriate help that they need. So I think it's really important that there's more resources that are designed and culturally tailored for this particular population so that we really can prevent some of these really, really serious mental health issues. Like I mentioned earlier, suicide is the third leading cause of death for Black men ages 15 to 24, and it's been the third leading cause of death since 1995. So for over 20 years, young Black men have been dying by suicide, and a lot of people have not been talking about it and are not aware of it. But my thought is that if we are able to tailor some of these interventions and these treatment programs, then maybe that risk can be lowered. I think that we need to know some of the warning signs, and I think that we need to be a bit more proactive instead of reactive when things do happen. So I think a lot of times through social media we're able to see things, but a lot of times it may be too late. But I think if we're being more attentive and more alert, and if we're also just willing to have those really bold conversations, simply asking someone, are they okay? Simply asking someone, have they experienced these sorts of thoughts? Simply asking someone if they're experiencing depression, and going about it in a loving and concerned way, I think can be really helpful. And then also I think there's a power in being able to tell your story. So for people who have gone through this, I think it's really important for them to really take that step and be courageous and be able to share that with other people, because you never know how many lives can be impacted and saved by the power of your own story. And so I think if we're in a position to really encourage people to be bold and to be proud of the fact that they're still living and that they're doing well and that they're thriving, that really can impact other people and encourage them to do the same.